Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we have the latest from the live radar. From the latest weather warnings, we still have numerous snow and ice warnings issued over the next few days as we continue to see very cold northerly winds pushing in right from the Arctic. Pretty much anywhere now in this air mass could see snow. Not expecting major widespread settling snow, but definitely a lot of falling snow in those prone areas towards the coasts, and even inland at times we could see more snow, and many even saw some snow this morning that we'll look at in a little bit more detail. Then we'll have a look at the latest UKV, look at the precipitation and the temperature over the next 5 days. Not only are we going to see snow, but the temperatures are going to be exceptionally cold over the next couple of nights, down to maybe -10 across parts of Scotland and quite widely elsewhere down to -3 or -4. And you might say that's not that cold, but remember, we're still in November. That is very cold for the last month of autumn. And then we'll finish by looking at the longer range charts. Yes, it is going to be turning milder as we head into the weekend, but it's only going to be turning towards sort of a chillier pattern. It's not going to be very cold anymore, but it's still probably going to be below average. Winds are still going to try and come in from the west, but the jet stream is going to be shifted southwards, which still keeps cooler air masses around. So still quite cold, but not likely to be wintry. Longer range, kind of extended range out towards early portion of December. We are starting to see pretty strong signal from some of the operational runs today of a Scandinavian high developing, and that's something that definitely has been hinted at by the models we look at in our winter look ahead. So that's very interesting, perhaps starting to see those runs coupling up, which could say some big things as we do head into December, which at the moment looks like it could hold a lot of promise with the expected southern stratospheric warming taking place in the next week or two. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, which do like and subscribe. Now, if you start on the live radar, you can see widespread showers at the moment, and you look at this and think all of this precipitation is going to come inland. But it's not. It is all powered by the North Sea at the moment. And it means essentially as soon as this comes more than about 20 miles inland, then it kind of disintegrates away, these showers. The source of moisture is the sea. So at the moment, you can see all these showers peppering the east coast. But if you go further inland, like Leeds and York here, look like they're going to be impacted by this snow shower. It's probably not going to push that far inland. But right towards the coast, that's where the heaviest precipitation will be. But you can still see the air mass is very cold, but the immediate coast, perhaps not quite cold enough right now to be seeing widespread snow. But in the coming hours, overnight tonight into tomorrow, definitely that is going to become a possibility. You can see elsewhere lots of snow showers pushing in the expected spots. As I said, northeast England, where we do have an amber warning tomorrow for these showers. Across East Anglia, where we continue to see showers pushing in, and we have got a new yellow warning issued here, again, for some of these showers. We've got the Pembrokeshire Dangler that has developed as expected, which is a area of convection, line convection taking place, a convergence zone where we see convection taking place, where winds do push together. Again, it's sea breezes along the Irish Sea causing this, funneling that northerly wind. And you can see here at the moment it's a bit more mixing, perhaps not quite engaging all of the colder air, but I suspect a lot of this has got some wintry flavour. We'll have to see if it all turns to snow in the coming hours. Same across Northern Ireland, Republic of Ireland, lots of showers pushing in, quite a few actually pushing quite far inland on the strong breeze. Again, quite heavy in places, and then we start to see some really beefy snow showers pushing into Scotland. They're mostly going to stay north of the big mountains. As said, once they sort of leave the sea, they start to lose their moisture source, and of course, going towards the mountains, they of course do rise and again lose a little bit of their power. So suspect not a lot of these showers will get towards the central belt, but especially for northern Scotland, we are going to see a lot of snow over the next few days, and you can see some really beefy showers moving in. This is expected, this sort of pattern. It is a typical northerly wind here, the same sort of prone spots. So this is not going to be too much of a surprise that these areas are getting peppered at the moment, but you can start to see it really coming to fruition. Now, do look at the temperatures. It's around 6:30 as I'm recording this, and temperatures tonight will widely drop down towards freezing. Didn't quite happen yesterday, down towards 3 or 4 degrees overnight, and didn't rise much in the day today. But tonight temperatures will be rapidly falling away, especially across central parts where we have got the clearest skies, and some areas still have a bit of a snow on the ground, and there we could see temperatures dropping away even further. So already 6:30, temperatures widely low single digits, if not below freezing, and you can see where those lighter blues are, that is getting down towards -2, -3 perhaps already. Now, we did see some heavy snow overnight into this morning, and it did even give some falling snow and a bit of settling snow even further southwards. And we saw it on the live radar yesterday, giving quite a bit of precipitation across northern areas. It started initially as rain with some snow in the northern edge, but as the colder air dug in, more and more of it turned to snow. And you can see it did have quite a dumping across northern England, and then it did stretch across parts of England and Wales. Here, there was a bit more mixing, and you can see to the east, we didn't see much in the way of falling snow or settling snow, and that's because here we're still drawing air in off the North Sea. It gave a slight bump in the dew points, and it meant we fell on the marginal side of rain, whereas further westwards it was still marginal, but most of the time we fell on the side of snow. And you can see we did see quite a lot of heavy snow. This is not, again, symbolic of what actually settled. This is symbolic of what fell out of the sky, and you can see quite an extensive array of snow, and even patches that don't quite show up here probably did see some snow, so the radar doesn't always get it right. But a few spots did actually see some settling snow across parts of Hertfordshire. Here we did see a centimetre or so for a period of time in the morning. Did melt though quite quickly, and even to the south of London we saw some snow as well. So very interesting that we did see that. It was expected to see some falling snow, but perhaps for some it was a little bit unexpected given how heavy some of the snow was. Very thick wet snow, so very noticeable, and how it did settle in some spots. So yeah, for many, first snow of the season, and given the looks of the long range charts, I suspect it won't be the last. Now, do look at the latest weather warnings. We've got the numerous snow warnings issued at the moment. Again, we won't focus on these as we have looked at them a lot over the past couple of days. The only warning that's new is this one across East Anglia from 5 p.m. this evening until 11 a.m. tomorrow for wintry showers, but it's a classic warning, a couple of centimetres possible. Some spots won't see much. And we saw on the live radar that there are showers there already. Into Thursday, still got those same warnings issued, but we've got an upgrade that we looked at, of course, over the past couple of days with this amber warning. It has been updated today to move it forward to 3 a.m. It is a very small amber warning. Again, it could be wrong and it could be shifted around, but somewhere within this, we could see upwards of 15 to 25 centimetres of snow, which is significant amount, and it could cause quite a lot of disruption in this area. So make sure you take care if you are in these warnings or even close to these warnings, because again, they're not always going to be 100% right. Not all the snow is going to fall in these warning areas. It will be outside, and the same that some areas in these warning zones will not see much at all. So please do take care. And of course, even if you are further inland, I've got no chance of seeing any wintry showers, then the temperatures will probably drop away even further with the clearer skies. So there is, of course, an enhanced risk of ice and frost. So please do take care out there over the next couple of days. We are expecting, though, the wintriness to subside Friday into Saturday. You can see still this evening lots of snow showers continuing to push in across those prone areas and through much of Thursday as well. But you can see some of those showers across the North Sea coast are going to push a bit further inland, maybe a bit more mixing as we do see temperatures rising above freezing during the day. But they are going to come not just 10 or 20 miles inland, maybe 50 or 60 miles inland, which could push all the way towards the spine of England there. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with that, but definitely could be a few surprises. Again, not expecting major settling snow, but could see quite a bit of falling snow in some spots. And then you can see it subsides into the early hours of Friday. Still very cold into the morning and probably still a quite cold day, but you can see the air masses are getting shifted away by a westerly flow, and then you can start to see rain pushing in, a bit of transient snow on its leading edge, but not expecting too much. And then it starts to turn to rain, unsettled but cool. And you can see the jet stream is still shifted southwards with these lows moving further southwards than they normally would this time of year, or normally would without the interaction of blocking patterns. And you can see it's just unsettled but still quite cold, as we'll see in the temperatures in a few moments time. You can see the upper air temperatures are still pretty chilly, a couple of degrees too mild to see snow. You can see at the moment they are very cold, -7, -8, and slowly they get erased away by some slightly milder air, and it remains, as I said, chilly but still probably slightly too mild to see wintriness there into Monday. And you can see those temperatures, it is still really cold. Overnight tonight, look at that, widely below freezing. And as we head into Thursday morning, look at that across the spine of England and Wales, towards Scotland, -3 to -4. And then it's the afternoon of Thursday, many areas not getting much above 3 or 4 degrees. In some areas with snow and the showers, maybe not much above freezing. Into Friday, we do see temperatures dropping away rapidly overnight once again. Maybe not quite as much in the east. We've got more cloud and a few showers still lingering, but further westwards could see even -10 across parts of Scotland. Into Friday afternoon, still a very cold day, widely low single digits, 2 or 3 degrees in quite a few spots, and then overnight once again another frost developing, but not quite as harsh and more southern and eastern dominant as we start to see the westerly winds pushing back in. For Thursday, temperatures could just about touch the double digits in the far southwest, but most still mid to high single digits. And then into Sunday, it's not quite cold overnight. Temperatures staying mid single digits, so not too bad. And by the afternoon, still chilly though, 6 to 8 degrees. And then finally into Monday, still struggling around 5 to 8 degrees. So still pretty chilly for the time of year, below average, but just not quite cold enough for seeing any further snow. Now, do quickly have a look at the longer range. I know most people clicking on this to have a look at what's happening immediately, but we still should concentrate on the longer range, and there are still further prospects into December. And as I've continued to say over the past couple of weeks, this colder spell we are in at the moment could just be the appetizer. Now, you can see northerly winds subside into the weekend. A westerly flow pushes in, but the jet stream is shifted southwards, and we continue to see perhaps slight northerly or easterly winds. For a time, for the last few days of November, we could see a more active jet stream, and that could actually be quite unsettled, stormy, and maybe a little bit milder, probably temperatures around average. But look what happens right at the end of this run. Out of nowhere, we build a massive Scandinavian high. Now, it doesn't turn us very cold. It does bring in a east to southeasterly wind. It's actually relatively mild initially, and the reason this is coming up against a big low pressure block higher over Greenland and northeast Canada, and that is halting that high pressure moving northwards. But this is the first run I've seen in our videos where this has happened, and the Scandinavian high develops. Now, this is in line with our winter look aheads, what we've looked at recently with the most up-to-date longer range eastern UF ensembles, the weekly mean anomalies. A lot of them have been showing blocking around Scandinavia. That's been the most dominant scenario there. So it is encouraging to see this from the GFS. Normally, I'd just say, the GFS probably just, going a little bit crazy here, building this really strong high. But given it's got support from the long-range charts, and we've been expected to see this, it gives me a little bit more hope that perhaps the GFS is starting to latch on to that idea into December. I have seen a lot of things that have pointed towards colder patterns or blocking patterns developing, so I wouldn't be surprised if we start to see some pretty wacky cold runs into early to mid-December. Perhaps this is starting to show those blocking patterns emerging. Now, not only is the GFS showing it, the GM is as well. We do see that cooler, unsettled pattern next week. High pressure stays around and doesn't have a westerly flow at all here from the GM. We go very quickly to a Scandinavian block. Now, this block is actually a bit further northwards and westwards, which does allow colder air to filter in pretty quickly. Again, it's no beast from the east. There's no -20 degrees firm screaming our way. But still, it's a cold airflow. And if we let this sort of mill around for a couple of days into early December, wouldn't be surprised to see some of these blues getting dragged our way. So very interesting. GM, very similar to the GFS, doing it, though, a little bit faster. Now, the ECMWF, as I'm recording, this is just coming out, but we'll have out to 192 hours. And you can see, again, a bit of a westerly flow next week, pretty unsettled and cool. And then out to 192 hours, it's relatively similar to the GFS. Doesn't look like there's signs here of a big Scandinavian high. So definitely some interesting patterns longer range. Starting to perhaps see the first little sprinkles, first little hints of colder weather re-emerging perhaps into early December. But again, we'll have to continue to watch that over the next few days to see whether there are any further updates. Now, after you finish looking at the latest ensembles, cold over the next couple of days, returning close to average, but staying a couple of degrees below average all the way through into next week, perhaps for much of next week, looking cool and unsettled. And then eventually, last few days of November into early December, majority of ensembles are hovering in and around average, and the mean is pretty much in line with the 1991-2020 mean. So nothing deviating too much there. So no overwhelming signals yet, even though there are perhaps some runs starting to show a bit of blocking. Precipitation looks fairly moderate, not overwhelming, so don't expect massive washout conditions, but there could be some washout days like we saw from the UKV. Dew points very cold at the moment, but rising very quickly into Saturday, and that And that will eliminate any chances of snow, ice and frost, but still, as I said, it could remain fairly chilly. 2-metre temperatures are really low at the moment, climbing toward the mid to high single digits through the weekend into next week, and then perhaps could just about get close to double digits, but that will all depend on what side of average we end up on. And if we did finish by looking at the latest ECMWF, very, very similar. Cool or very cold next few days, cool next week, and then close to average late November, early December. So I've got lots going on over the next few days. Yes, it's turning slightly milder into the weekend, but still remaining fairly chilly into next week. And then all to play for as we head into early December. And that is something we're going to keep a very close eye on. Probably having another update on the longer range and, of course, the upcoming sun stratospheric warming that looks really likely now. We'll have another update about that at some point throughout the end of towards the end of this week. And yeah, it'll be very interesting to see what those charts continue to show. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.